Ladies and gentlemen, Riot just dropped patch 1.01, and there's a lot of insane changes. Sage just got a pretty big nerf, both SOVA and REYNA got quite an actual hidden buff, and actually there's this insane abuse going on with CYPHER right now where he can actually make it impossible for you to defuse a spike, and if you don't learn how to deal with that in this video, then you might actually lose a game that you should have won. So I'm going to break that down in this video, tell you everything you need to do to shut that bug down in the meantime. But if you like Valorant content and you like being updated, smash that sub button, and without further ado, let's just jump right into it, shall we? So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the Sage nerfs. Now, Sage's barrier orb, the cast range, actually got changed from 20 meters all the way down to 10 meters, which is half the effective range. Now, what this means for Sage is that Sage can't be that far away when she's trying to set up these really aggressive barrier orbs, and she can't be back far enough to keep her completely out of danger. Essentially, while Sage's barrier orb is very, very powerful, we all know just how powerful it is, she was able to cast it from so far away that she could be completely out of the fight, barely peeking an angle from behind natural cover, throw the wall up from relative safety. Now, if you know that a Sage has casted her barrier orb, you know she's only 10 meters away, and she might be actively retreating. And then on top of that, oftentimes, Sages won't be able to do something like run out into mid and wall off a corridor and run through. They can't do that aggressively without putting themselves in harm's way. Now, do I think that this nerf is a big deal? Yeah, I think it is actually a big deal, but do I think it changes Sage's tier list position? We put her in the S tier? Most likely not, unfortunately. Sage is just so powerful. She's the only healer that can heal your team, and every single one of her abilities, even if they're a little bit harder to use and we keep reducing their effective range and cast time, they're still pound for pound some of the most powerful abilities in the game. And until that changes, Sage is still going to be the best character in the entire game, in my opinion. If you disagree with me, definitely let me know in the comments down below. Now, for the next big change, we got to talk about map updates, and it's about the map ascent. So they fixed several spots where weapons were actually following through the world. This was a problem that kept on coming up where people would drop their weapon and it would just fall through the world and you could never find it again. Or you would kill an enemy and their weapon would fall through and you couldn't pick it up, which was definitely frustrating. They fixed that, which is insanely cool. And then on top of that, all maps actually have modified callouts for the areas on the map. So every time you press the map, you got to see exactly what Riot called a location. Well, what Riot did is something that I actually didn't expect, but I'm greatly appreciative of, is they took the terms that everyone was using generally, and they started to slowly apply them to what they're called on the map. And I think they're gonna do this more and more as the game goes on. This is really cool because for a lot of us, we have no idea what's going on when people call heaven, hell, especially if you never played CSGO before. When you first pick up this game, you have no idea what things are called. So intuitively, you go to the map, you call things what they're supposed to be called according to Riot, but no one really understands what you're saying because that's not the adopted community term. So I really like that they're actually incorporating this, and this is going to be really good for the longevity of the game. Just take what the pros are using, take what the streams and community is using, apply that to the map, overlay it, and then everyone will be on the same page. I really like that change, and I think it's going to be really good adopting this philosophy going forward. Now, before we move on about maps, specifically with Ascent, so before when it just came out, the pick rate or how many times you would get the map, that was greatly increased, so you had a higher probability of getting the map. That got completely gotten rid of, so now it's default for every single map. So I know some of you got Ascent like multiple times in a row, and it was definitely annoying for you. So now it's pretty much perfect RNG, 1/4 of the chance you get one of the 4 maps. So let's move on to Spike Rush, and Spike Rush got some really interesting changes, including an insane golden pistol. Let's break every single thing down really quickly. So firstly, now every single Spike Rush games will have 5 randomly selected orbs, and the ult orb will always be available, but 4 of the other remaining orbs on the map will be completely random. Now, you're going to be able to see what orbs are going to be spawning both in character select and pre-round. Now, let's talk about some of the new orbs. Firstly, there's a health orb that gives the entire team health regeneration, 20-second duration at 12 HP per second, 3 HP per tick. That's actually pretty cool. It's almost like an inverse decay orb, but not quite as powerful as that decay orb that really just takes you down so quickly. Next up, there's a Deception Orb that applies Paranoia to the enemy team for 3 seconds, which Paranoia is Omen Stun, so it's like where your whole screen is purple and you can't really see very well. And it has a 10-second debuff. This makes your vision greatly reduced. And on top of this, Fake Footsteps and Gunfire will play for the players affected, and your minimap will be disabled. This is a pretty interesting one. You could grab this orb and then quickly push onto the enemy. And then the last one, and the most hyped one out of all of these, is the Golden Gun. And if you get the Golden Gun, which everyone's going to be fighting for, by the way. You get one shot, one kill. It's a one shot, one kill gun. It's perfectly accurate at all times. So I guess everyone's McCree up in this because you could be jumping and running and it's perfectly accurate according to this diagram. And then on top of that, your agent will move at knife speed, so you're running extremely fast. And you only have a single bullet in the chamber, but you get 2 backup rounds, and every kill will grant you an additional round. So you have the capacity to really run and gun, kill, and go nuts. Now, something that's actually not in the patch list, so if you go in the patch description, you won't even find this because this was actually a follow-up comment by one of the developers on the Reddit, is that if you have the golden gun and someone kills you when you have the golden gun, that weapon will instantly transfer to their inventory with full ammo, and now they have the golden gun. So it's almost like a fragging hot potato with the golden gun where I have it, I kill 2 people, one of them kills me, they get it, and they kill 2 of my teammates, and it's just a back and forth craziness around this one shot, one kill, insane gun. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun for Spike Rush, and that's what the mode is trying to be, fun. I know a lot of people weren't that happy with Spike Rush, but I'm sure we're going to get Team Deathmatch and all that stuff later on. But for now, just enjoy Spike Rush for what it is, a crazy frag fest, and this really fits the silly fun aspect of the mode. Now, next up, as far as the patch notes are concerned, we got huge combat performance. There were problems with skins not loading or dropping frames when you went up against someone with gun skins. And there's basically improved performance that drops FPS in combat and when people used abilities like Viper's abilities. So I think this is just going to be good overall. On top of that, there has been a lot of problems with the mid to high end PCs still, having some problems with frames, even though with a game like Valorant, they really shouldn't. So they're still working on that, and they actually made a lot of effort to fix a lot of those problems. If you want to see that, you can definitely check out the links down below in the full patch notes. Now, moving on to SOVA and REYNA, these characters got huge buffs. So word for word in the patch notes, it's the area of effect indicators for both SOVA's Recon Bolt and REYNA's Leer now only show up on the enemy's minimap if their players or allies are close to the affected area. Now, why does this matter? What does this mean? Let me break it down for you really simply. So the problem is, let's say you were on a flank as REYNA and you wanted to use your Leer. Well, if the enemy was across the map, they could still see your Leer go out on their minimap, which would tell them, hey, the REYNA's right over there, which means you couldn't actually peek around corners on a flank with Leer without giving up your position to every single member on the enemy team. In a similar way, SOVA, if he wanted to check information about a site, then the enemies automatically know that he's near that site, even if they're on the opposite side of the map. And if you gotta think about this logically, it doesn't make sense for them to know that free information simply because you use an ability. They're not anywhere near it, so why would they get that information? And now, it's only relayed if they're close or they have allies close to the target location, which is really good, and it's actually a huge buff for specifically REYNA flanking and using her Leer around corners when she's on flanks or in off angles. And then just SOVA generally with his Recon Bolt, it makes it a lot more powerful. Now, next up, we gotta talk about the big elephant in the room, and this is CYPHER's bugs and all the stuff and changes with CYPHER. So first off, let's talk about the minor things. CYPHER's Cyber Cage doesn't open up the teleport blind doors anymore, which is really nice to know because before it was actually something you could abuse, and now it doesn't open it up, which I'm a little bit sad about, but I guess for consistency's sake, it makes sense. Now, the first bug that they actually fixed was that a CYPHER camera could actually go through the walls of a teleporter from the outside and force it open, which is definitely broken and busted, but they patched that right out, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, one thing I'm curious about is whether or not they fixed the wall SOVA drone spots where drones were essentially going through walls on the map. I'm not sure if they fixed that. There's no comment of it here in the patch notes, but we're gonna have to wait and see on that one. Now, lastly, let's talk about the bug going around right now that is stopping you from defusing a spike. What the heck? Okay, so if there's a plant zone with something nearby like a wall, and you put a camera right above the plant zone, right? You put it right above the plant zone, close to the ground, and then you plant a spike on top of it. If an enemy walks up to it and tries to defuse, they can't defuse it. It simply won't let them. So you put your camera there, you put your spike there, you can't defuse it. The enemy just can't defuse it. Now, you might be asking, why in the world would I tell you this? This is extremely broken. I shouldn't tell anyone this. Well, the reason I'm telling you is you can still destroy the camera as long as you know to try to shoot for it. It's going to be right underneath the spike or around the spike, so So just spray bullets in that general area, and then you're gonna be able to destroy the spike. Now, is that annoying? Yes. Is this something that needs to be patched? Yes, it is. But I thought that I would tell you right away, because in your games, if you don't know about this and you try to just walk up to a spike and you can't defuse, and you're like, what the heck is going on? And you just try to mix your angles around, you're not gonna think intuitively, hey, I need to shoot the spike. So now you know, and now you can make sure that you don't get farmed by this simple tip or this simple bug right now. So I wanted to make sure to tell y'all here as a PSA, just so you know how to deal with this in the meantime until it gets patched out. Anyways, if you like Valorant news, Valorant content, or want to improve, do me a huge solid and smash that sub button. Anyways, if there's any other videos you want to see, definitely let me know in the comments down below. That's all I got for you today. I'm Coach Mills, and until next time,